Hey all. So I'm usually not like all that. I don't really like usually take these videos like that seriously, like when I make them. But there's this one quote that's very famous, like from Socrates, that that like honestly, it just passed by my mind, and I really wanted to share it. Um, I've been very worried about like the direction that I feel like, or like the gist of the direction that we're going in, like as the United States, or as like the planet, or as society. And I've been, and this I don't think is a concern that most people don't have. So I wanted to just say something that I thought, or that I think is very important for people to like think about. So there's this quote from Socrates, and I think it really encapsulates like a good deal of his philosophy. It's that the unexamined life is not worth living. And so Socrates is kind of known as like the patron saint of reason. He's known as like the founder of modern Western philosophy, and almost all of his philosophy is based much more on how to think more than it is what to think. Like, I'm not very familiar with Socrates' philosophy. I will be honest, but what I like of the conclusions that I know of him, they don't point to a core thesis. They don't point to a commandment that he has for all people. It's just that he wants people to think, and he wants people to challenge the notions that they, have, instead of just letting the whole of society just decide for them like what is or is not true. And it seems that every single person, like even me, like I found myself doing this. It feels like every single person nowadays is really avoiding like free thought in some way, shape, or form, and that free thought has become very branded. That whenever I say free thought, or whenever I say you should think for yourself, immediately you're not thinking of free thought. You're trying to figure out what ideological position I'm trying to argue for, and that is completely like incongruent with reality. Like within the life of Socrates, he lived in a time whenever, and this goes from like most human history, he lived in a time where there was a state mandated religion, there's a state mandated correct or incorrect like view of politics. And he looked at how the city of Athens worked, and he looked at how the government was like prescribing truth to the people, or prescribing what people should think. And he saw this, and he went forth and lived a life where he would just talk to people, and he would just debate them. Really, all he would do is he would ask somebody a question of what is good or what is evil, what is God. And he would, whenever they would like give them their definition, he would just challenge that and just try to poke a hole in it. And he would do that until the point that either the person themselves would think that, okay, well, maybe my definition is bad, I'll concede. Which he was very good at making people comfortable enough to do that. Like, he was very approachable, like, as a person. But eventually, it would either be that the person would change the assumption that they had, or that they would find a better definition that, under most circumstances would, hold true. And so, the principle that, like, our country's been founded on, like on what my country's been founded on, is that people have not only the right to believe what they want to believe, but that also people have a obligation or even a duty to engage in free thought and to not just follow the crowd in terms of what they believe. And so, like, honestly, this is something that I found within myself. I found that a lot of my, like, political or, like, religious beliefs, that a lot of them are really just contrarian. Like, I like, just, like, putting it in plain English, like, I'm just, just trying to, like, be, just trying to be different and not actually construe a belief that really makes sense, considering, like, my, understanding of the world and, what information I have. And so what I really, like, think of the quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living," is that what I think it's trying to say is that, we've been blessed with this, like, ability to, like, think for ourselves and not just be a, victim of circumstance, that we can choose the attitudes that we have in life, and that is something that we are, like, genuinely free to do, and that nobody can, like, really, like, take that away from us. And that this should be used to better our own lives and to better society's lives. It's just kind of the case that you see in all societies, like, every single country has some atrocity that was committed or some tragedy that happened that, if somebody had, I apologize for the dog, but, if somebody had made a different decision, or somebody had thought differently about this, if somebody had thought, well, maybe I should do Y instead of X, maybe I should just have a 5-minute conversation with them about, going on the plane to New York on September the 11th. That's not a good example. But, like, just the basic premise that there are a lot of very avoidable tragedies that if we would be just a little bit more, like, cautious, or at least, like, think a little bit, like, differently about how we go about the situation, that in the future something like this won't happen again. And so what people should do is just understand that there is a distance between what happens to you and your mind or your brain or your emotions or whatever, and that it's in that little distance that you have freedom. There's this one psychologist. He's very I love his work, and I love, like, him as a dude, like, so much. His name is Viktor Frankl, and he was this major psychologist within Austria who, like, had all these, like, amazing achievements as, like, a professor and as a psychologist. Like, he had this it was recorded that whenever he taught at the I think it's, like, the University of Austria, that the students that, that within that area, there were no suicides for, like, the entirety of the year that he taught there, like, the first year that he taught there. But eventually he ended up, like, he was a Jewish guy, and he ended up going into a concentration camp, and he was, like, perpetually under the, like, threat of death. But eventually, he gets out of it, he survived all of that, and he went on being a psychologist, and he even used that like within his work. And he said that the thing that really, like, he never explicitly says this, but like this is the big like point of like all of his work is that, you know, whenever something happens to you, you know, there's a like a distance, even if it's small, of, you know, how there's a distance between what happens to you and how you react. And you can't control really just about like anything else as well as you can the attitude that you take towards life. And he said that that's what kept him going. And he even goes as far as to say that that's like, if you have meaning in your life, like that was the biggest predictor of if you would or wouldn't survive the camps. Like, it didn't matter if you were like smart or strong or whatever. If you had the idea, if you had this idea in your head that once I get out, you know, I can expect to see something good, or if I get out, then I can help people, or even just while I'm in here, there's you know, it's horrible that this is happening to me, but there's you know, something about this experience that is meaningful, that was the real predictor of who would or wouldn't survive the Nazi concentration camps. And understanding that has given me like a lot of like freedom, like in my personal life. But ultimately, like, kind of what I'm trying to get at is that you know, like in the world, you know, there are inevitably going to be like hard times, that there's inevitably going to be like, you know, inevitably it's going to happen that something bad, that somebody's going to do something, and then something bad is going to happen. That's just a fact of life. And that can be on a personal level or a national level or whatever. But it would be a lot, it would be a lot more worth it to like go through even a life of suffering if you have meaning, and if you know, don't just let the impressions that things give you be how you view the world. Then even if you had lived a life of you know, splendor and like richness, but had like no meaning, you know, there's always the example of even if you're rich, if you don't have any actual like meaning in your life, then, you know, what are you rich for? Like, what you know, really, like, what really, you know, it's cheesy, but I mean, what really makes people happy in life is, you know, the little things. And the reason why they find meaning in the little things is because that's where you find actual genuine meaning, right? This went on for a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but this is something that I'm like very passionate about, and I really hope that, like, for y'all, that I at least got you thinking about thinking, I guess. Like, I hope that this maybe positively influenced y'all to take more control, you know, over your lives, and that this gives you like some peace in your life. You know, ultimately my goal with making this video is that I just want people to have more of an understanding of life and, you know, of God, so that people will have happiness. Like, I genuinely think that one of the best things that a person can do for, like, in their lives is like learn for the sake of understanding, because that understanding leads to peace. It's an idea that I got to thinking about because of Spinoza, but even in the Bible it says, like, the original Greek for which it was written in, there was a verse in the Bible where it says that you will understand the truth, and the truth will set you free. In the original, I believe, like, Greek or Aramaic, it's what it, like, more or less is saying is that you will experience the truth, and the truth will set you free. And I think that experience of that, like, whenever it says, like, experience the truth, I think it means, this is what I think anyway, I think what it means is you really look at the spirit of the thing. You don't just look at the thing in itself, or you don't just look at, you don't look at the impression of the thing, you look at what the thing is in itself. You look at the spirit of the thing. And I don't know, I don't know really, like, how to put it. Maybe I shouldn't have brought it up to begin with, because I don't really know how to put it, but, ultimately, my whole goal with this channel is I want to do as Socrates did, and I want to challenge people to think, or try to rethink the notions that they have about life, and ultimately just better their attitudes towards life. Like, even if I agree with them, I still want people to challenge the notions that they have, because, again, I think that leads to greater freedom in, your personal life, or in a country, or, what be you. So, yeah, that's just the quote that I wanted to talk about and kind of espouse my thoughts on. The unexamined life is not worth living. So, anyways, I hope this video was useful. If there was anything that I explained poorly, please do point it out. I don't want to just be rambling and not actually be told whenever I'm not making any sense. I really hope that this does help y'all, or help you in a personal life, and I hope you have a lovely day. All right, bye, y'all.